Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. All right. So basically, what we'll be looking at this evening is, or this afternoon, is trying to understand the skill gap that we have and how we can, of course, leverage on the resources that is available for us to be able to, gain new skills and, become employable at the end. Because I know that some of the curiosity among students is, when I'm done with school, right, will I be able to get a job? Huge number of people who are able to, who finish school, we even have good degree, right? But at the same time, they couldn't still find job, right? So those are like the nightmare of students. And those are the things we'll be looking at this afternoon, right? And how we can move from that fear to something more productive. So the good news I have for you is you have the ability to fix the Nigerian education, right? There are so many conversations around how do we fix the problem, and there are so many, analysis out there. In fact, sometimes when you listen to some people talking, you would lose hope in fixing the Nigerian education. But the good news I have for you today is you have the power, you have the access to fix the problem. Because the reason why I'm saying this to you is that the essence of every education setting, every education, is to empower the students, is to make them employable, is to give them the access to the knowledge they need in order to solve some situation or solve some problem, right? And the moment you can put yourself in a situation where you can solve problem in your own little way, you've actually fixed the education problem. So we're looking at it from individual perspective, right? But before we even dive in, right, let's understand what are the major crises in the Nigerian education system, right? What is the actual problem, right? So let's try to see it from a perspective so that we know what we're really talking about, right? We have out of 35.5 million Nigerians that are currently employed, right? 28.8 million out of them didn't even attend school. Either some of them, drop out at some point, or some finish secondary school and they further to the tertiary education. But the number of the people who are fully employed, right, is even greater than those who went to school. And the common fact is that while you're going on a 4-year journey, you're not even sure that when you go for an academic session for 4 years, that within that 4 years, you'll be done with the school, right? So what happens is, in the process, there might be strike, there might be so many things that will make you sit at home and even elongate those period, right? But the advantages for those who are not in school, what they get is they never get strike, right? They never get ASU, whatever. So they end up, working on their skills. That is why you will see the margin very wide, right? So if you're saying 35 million people are fully employed and 28.8 million out of that 35.5 million are people who didn't even go through the school. So which means that there is a huge issue, there is a huge problem with the educational system that needs to be fixed, right? Now, before we move on, let's understand who we are at Instinct Hub, right? So at Instinct Hub, majorly, what we do is we take technological skills and connect learners to business need. At Instinct Hub, we help learners, we help people to design and to code, regardless of what you think you want to achieve. We are structured at Instinct Hub to help students get to their goal. So looking at the various issues or looking at the various problems in the education, right? The first thing that comes to the mind is some people will say the entire system is broken. We need to fix it. We need to, take the entire structure of the academics and, in fact, abolish it and bring in something else. Some will tell you, oh, the school needs funding. It is funding that is causing all of this mess. And some will tell you again that no, it is the government, not even the lecturer, right? So when you look at it from various perspectives, and some will tell you they want educational reform. However you look at it, right, we need to just understand that this is a matter of life and death. We need to take this beyond just people giving us analysis. We need to take it into our hands and see how we can further with it. This is a quote from Houston. He said, "The formulation of problem is often more essential than the solution." So when you look at it, right, the ability to formulate a problem, right, is quite more even difficult than solving it. Because if you don't know something is wrong, you don't even know how to fix it, right? So what we're trying to do right now is to understand what our problems are and how we can fix it. So why even our best schools don't teach the new survival skills? Everybody needs to know what needs to be done, right? Everybody needs to know what they want. Because it's beyond some set of people putting a curriculum together. And at the end, you can't guarantee that you're going to use it to do something, right? I mean, all of those curriculum makes a lot of sense. They are fundamentals that really helps a lot, right? But fundamentals minus practical ends up being a waste of time in education, right? So what we'll be looking at is how you can get yourself practically equipped so that whatever comes your way, you have something to leverage on. For every individual, right, there are 7 survival skills that we need, give or take. You can't trade it. And number 1 is critical thinking and problem solving, right? You need to be able to understand what the issues are. As an economy or as an economist, you need to be able to analyze with data. You need to be able to see things from various perspectives because, I mean, a common man is on the road, doesn't really understand figure. A common man just wants to know that there's food on my table, right? But as an economist, right, you need to be able to put those things into perspective so that when you're about to solve the problem, you're actually solving problem and you're not just blabbing, you're not just talking. Because if you look at even the government sector, the parastatals and the likes, there's so much talk, right? There's so much talk. And when it comes to the actual problem solving, that's where we have issues, right? Because everybody knows how to talk, but nobody really knows how to solve the problem, right? And if you don't know how to solve the problem, you won't be having the right conversation, right? So that's why critical thinking and problem solving is very crucial. The next is collaboration across network and leading by influence. So just think about it as you're in school, yes, interesting, but you need to be connected. Like you need to understand what's going on out there beyond just the social media, beyond the social media that you have phones and the like. You need to understand what your industry is saying. And by understanding what your industry is saying, you're saying you need to know what the experts are going through, their challenges, right? Are they frustrated? If they are frustrated, why? I mean, some of the, which you guys will agree, some of the issues we have when it comes to the economy in Nigeria is the fact that there are actually no raw data to interact with. When you want to play around household data, is a very big deal, right? When you want to even play around the number of electricity consumption in Nigeria and you want to use it to forecast whatsoever you have as a project, is a very big deal, right? As an economist, you need to, see things from that perspective. When I'm going to be done with my academic program, what problem am I going to solve? But for you to get there, you need to be able to collaborate. You need experts in the industry to tell you what the issues are. right? Not just about reading about them, but you need to connect with them. Now, talking about agility, right, and adaptability, we need to be able to be fast and we need to adapt because things aren't the way we think, right? Out there in this whole entire working ecosystem, things aren't fun. So many challenges, so many competitions, people need to connect, people need to solve problems, issue of electricity, issue of manpower, issue of trust, funding, so many things, right? But you need to be able to adapt in order to solve problems, right? The next, which is number 4, initiative and entrepreneurialism. The entrepreneurialism is very crucial. I know that every individual, every student is thinking that when he or she is done, is going to get a job. I think it's high time we need to change the perspective. How about you think that when you're done, you're going to create jobs? How about you think that when you're done, you're going to establish solutions, you're going to establish processes that will make things more effective? It might be, you might not think about it. You're not starting so big. You're just starting with even just conversation. In as much as you know where you're going, you can definitely get there. The next, which is effective oral and written communication. Those are very key as well. You need to be able to communicate. When you're talking to investors, when you're talking to either someone who wants to do business, you need to be able to effectively understand their needs and how you can be of help. These are the things we need to look at. Now, assessing and analyzing information is another thing. We all hear all the time that we are in the era of information. There are so many information out there. But the big question is, how are we able to decentralize this information, break them into pieces, and make meaning out of them? And that's where digital literacy comes to play, right? How are you able to perceive information as an economist? How are you able to distill that information and make sense out of it, right? Now, there are so many funny things, memes, so many jokey, Nigerians will like fun a lot. So many distractions out there. But in the midst of those distractions, are you able to make sense out of it? Because that's what will make you stand out, right? There are people who already have PhD, there are people who have MSc. If you're coming out as a BSc holder, right, the only thing you can leverage on is your ability to translate what is going on out there into a more meaningful solution. The last is curiosity. Curiosity and imagination is very key. Curiosity about, oh, am I doing the right thing? Curiosity about, is my skill enough for me to be, employable, for me to be valuable, for people to want to do business with me, right? Are the solutions tailored? Are they the best, right? The model of teaching, if a lecturer is teaching, is that the best? If it's not the best, which means you have to study again. Because think about it, if a lecturer is teaching you from the perspective of theoretical and the business model is quite different from that, is a very big issue, right? So you have to be curious about almost everything. Are they being done properly? Do you need to skill more? Do you need to read more books? What are the trends that you need to relate to? Stuff like that. So I know you've seen SAGI, that's Student Achievement Gap Initiative, right? So like I said, what we're trying to do is for us to be able to help students understand where they need to improve, right? Now, talking about student achievement gap, right? The gap we're talking about here is the vacuum between what the school are teaching, and testing versus the skill that all students need for their career, right? For them to be a participant in this current economy, right? So it's beyond just reading. Sometimes when you read manuals and you start implementing, you see that things are different, right? So it's more ideal when you're curious to know what's the area which you need to upscale, and how you can do that. Now, the next generation, one thing we need to understand is that we have potentials. There's no doubt. Like, we have things to leverage on. And this boxes just shows the peculiarity of this next generation. So one of the things we like, or we do often in this generation, is we like to be connected, right? We have several avenues, several indicators, several things that always make us connected, right? So when you look at it very well, you will see that, sorry, okay. When you look at it very well, you will see that anywhere you go, any conversation you're having is all about connectivity. Our social media platforms are there. There's just so many forms of connecting, right? Now, another peculiarity with us is the use of web, right? We use web for extending friendship. We use it to drive interest, self-directed learning. I mean, we use it as a tool for self-expression. If I'm happy right now, I can go to my WhatsApp status and just share how I feel, right? If anything is wrong, I can just share it and people will understand how I feel, right? Constantly connected is one peculiarity with us as well, right? We like to create things, we like to multitask. I can be on Facebook, quickly go to Instagram. You know, those are like things that we can do right now. Another thing is we have no fear. That's what this generation is saying, right? We are accustomed to learning from peers. We want coaches, but we don't want those adults that will talk down on us, right? We want people who really understand what we want, right? If you think this deeply, you'll see that you can relate with it because that's who we are, right? The last is we want to make difference. Regardless of what you think about yourself, there's something that is always pushing you to make a difference. But the big question, how exactly can you make that difference, right? And for you to do some of those difference and make those differences, you need skills, you need ability for you to create something. Now the cornerstone, holding ourselves accountable for what matters most. That's the way out. The government is not going to save you. The lecturers are not going to save you. Your school is not going to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to be able to, you need to be ready to pay the price. No matter what you do, no matter what I say to you right now, if you're not ready to have perseverance, if you're not ready to endure, if you're not ready to actually devote time and learn, there are possibilities that nothing will change. No matter the amount of money you spend, no matter the amount of money, resources that you invest, if you're not ready to pay that attention, if you're not ready to put in that hard work, nothing possible will happen. To just end up being the same way, right? The next is manage and utilize every opportunity within your reach. Like, this is an opportunity. When Adeniro actually contacted me, I felt really impressed, right? Him meeting me and just analyzing. So we spoke at length. It was making me understand his passion for growth, right? So utilizing every opportunity is very key, right? So think about you building a mindset that will utilize every opportunity. Experiment your ideas. Don't think it will work at once. It can never work at once. Start with the critical thinking, like we mentioned. You have to communicate with people who already have ideas. You need to collaborate. You can't do it alone. You do not have the manpower and the resources to run the race by yourself. So it is very crucial for you to understand all of these things. Don't forget the cornerstone. You are responsible for your growth. You need to utilize every opportunity. You need to experiment your ideas. You need to experiment your knowledge. So it doesn't just happen, but you need to be realistic with yourself. Now, the big threat If you fail to take accountability for yourself, you lose chances to be economically inclusive. If you're not ready to pay that time, if you're not ready to be patient, if you're not ready to devote your resources into learning new skills, into upscaling whatever you have right now, you would lose the chances to be inclusively involved in the economic growth. The next is you have to, if you don't follow those procedures, then you have to depend on either employers or governments to live a purposeful life. So which means there will be the determining factor for everything that you do. So it is very, very crucial for us to take all of this into consideration. The last is, if the big threat, if we don't take our life into our hands as students, is you lack the purchasing power. So for every opportunity you have, you always lack purchasing power because you always be desperate to get a job. Oh, I just want to get a job. When the employer sees you, right, they'll see that you're desperate. And when the employer sees that you're being desperate, they'll offer you little pay. And when they offer you little pay, it will be a big deal for you to even be able to bounce out, right, or to make good fortune. So what we are introducing is a data workshop. I imagine that everybody on this call is an economist, and being an economist means that you want to further your ideas. Now, at most, what ideas you will have right now, or at most the kind of skill level that you will have, is data analysis. At most, using variables, variables to forecast prediction, or using variables to analyze or to write a report, cite someone saying so thing, drawing charts. That's the most you can get that I know from a Nigerian university, right? But the world has moved beyond just you analyzing that the federal government enacted so thing so time, then you write a report. That's more like a job of a content writer these days, right? A copywriter can do that. A copywriter can even sit and read lots of books, read lots of articles, and come up with exactly what you are saying, right? But as a person or as an individual, you need to stand out. By standing out, I mean you need to understand this a step further. And that's why we'll be hosting a data science workshop, right? And the things we'll be looking at is essential data science strategy mapping for career success, right? We'll be analyzing various data science tools, exploring data science pipelines from data acquisition to publication, perform regression analysis, latest queries, and inference using the regression model. It's going to be a lot, right? So this is not something you want to miss. If you have an idea of this and you can put it to use, your perspective will change entirely. I can assure you that. But like I said, it takes time, commitment, and you have to be ready for the challenges that will come along the line. And that's the end of our presentation for today. Like I promised, I said it was going to be a very short session. Thank you once again. I really appreciate your time. I'll be communicating with Adeniro so that we can conclude on when the session we start with you, right? And so the plan is, once we're able to enroll the economy students, we're still going to see if other departments will be interested, then we'll also still take that conversation there. So thank you once again, guys. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you so much.